Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie Vaughn with How She Got There, a Next In podcast. And I'm here today with our special guest, Kate Watts, who's the Executive Director of Advancing Women in Tech. Hi, Kate. How are you?
Hi, so good to be here. Thank you, Jamie. I'm
Good.
doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. So, just so you know, you are the very first interview in our new podcast room. Not finished, but you get to inaugurate the room. So,
What a joy.
yes, there you go. And as everyone can tell, it's not decorated. We will get there. It'll be really cool. Can't wait for you all to see it. But so, Kate, every time I start these interviews, I always ask, what did you think you were going to be when you grew up?
Wow, I thought I would be so many things when I grew up, and in some ways, I am, which works. So early on, I wanted to be a librarian.
Oh, wow.
I love to read and connect people to books, stories. So that was definitely a first sort of space I wanted to be in. As I got older, I wanted to be a philanthropy officer for a community foundation.
Wow.
Was always interested in the nonprofit sector. How do you serve others? How do you distribute resources, etc. I at one point wanted to be a lawyer. I think that was a little bit not fitting with my personal skill set, but you always have a bit of a go veer elsewhere. And then at other points in my life, I wanted to be a development officer for an educational institution. So where I've ended up being in the nonprofit sector as the executive director of Advancing Women in Tech, it is a bit connected to everything. If I look at the through line.
Yeah. So what did you do for education-wise? I mean, so many women we have on here have that tech background, but, researching you, I didn't see that. So how did your education lead you to becoming the executive director?
That's interesting to think through. And as you've noted, I do not have a background in technology. My background is actually in more in like the higher education policy sorts of space. When I was an undergraduate student, I studied political science and women's studies. So clearly was interested in gender and equity issues as I was coming up. So that is connected to the women's focus of this organization. And then as I continued to move on in my career, I became more interested in how do people access opportunities that are good fits for them. And I ended up studying higher education, administration, and policy for my graduate work.
Oh, wow.
And then I worked in like the college access, higher education policy space at a state and federal level for about a decade before coming into this role. And so when I think about the work that I do or that Advancing Women in Tech supports, it's very much along the how do you make sure that women and others who are from underinvested or underrepresented communities have access to like the skills and training that is needed to be able to hit their best fit careers. And so I think of my role as facilitating those trainings that and those connection points to be able to enable others. So I see the education through line as very connected in that space.
So where did you go to college?
I went to Denison University, which is a small liberal arts up in Ohio.
Okay, gotcha. I have several friends who went there, so I do.
Nice.
Yes. So how did the opportunity come about for you to become the executive director of Advancing Women in Technology?
So it came out in a somewhat roundabout way. I was the organization's first employee. So Advancing Women in Tech was founded in 2017 by a woman named Nancy Wang, who at that point was a product manager over at Google and was noticing the need for more mentorship and support and training to help herself and then other women at her peer space move up to further and further levels in leadership. For a number of years, the organization was run very well by a group of committed volunteers and supporters. And it had expanded to a point where the programs were serving thousands of individuals on a global basis. And it was like, oh, there needs to be some programmatic support. And so that's where I was able to come in and first held an operations type role for the organization, and then had the opportunity to move into the executive director position where I am now. And we're building out our team, we're expanding further and trying to reach more, even further our impact and in the coming years.
Yeah. So is the organization based out of Nashville, or is that just where you're located?
I am located in Nashville, Tennessee. Our largest populations of people who are in our community are on either like the West Coast, so large bases in San Francisco, Seattle, East Coast, Washington, D.C., Boston, New York tend to be some of the biggest concentrations. And then we also have had chapters and large bases of folks in Western Europe and India. So we're a global organization. I get the joy of being able to fly around a fair amount.
Mhm.
We also are able to support and coordinate from wherever we are. And our team is global now as well. So we have individuals on our team who are in Germany, Uruguay, and Argentina at this point.
That's amazing. I didn't realize it was that big of an organization. So on a daily basis, what are the different organizations doing within their communities?
So we work to advance our mission by supporting three different pillars. So first, we provide a fair number of upskilling training opportunities to make sure that people have the skills that are needed. So we have a number of folks on our team and in our community who are focused on how do we develop great training opportunities? How do we facilitate learning? How do we connect people for peer-to-peer learning experiences? And how do we bring in experts in our community to be able to share their knowledge as instructors, and really support that like learning skill development piece? So far we have trainings and courses that are on product management, cloud computing, engineering leadership, and we also support accelerators for future or burgeoning founders in the space. So we have that sort of base on one piece. Another core component of our work is in providing mentorship, connection, community building. So we have a fair amount of supports that are going into making and maintaining mentor-mentee matches, and developing programs that facilitate the like soft skill development and helping individuals understand what does it look like to move to the next step in their career as a leader. So we have a number of people on our team who are focused their attention on how do you really support and make those connections as impactful as possible through our mentorship programs. And then on the third side, there's a lot of like the day-to-day operations. How are we growing our community, our impact, our voice, telling our story? So we have operations folks as well that are always focused on how do we elevate the expertise of women leaders? How do we tell the stories of our community members? And how do we enable and support those in our community on the back end so that they can focus on their work?
I love that. I love that y'all are teaching soft skills, because I think that that is something that's really lacking, even in schools. You know, it's like we have to focus so much on academics, but we're not teaching each other how to maneuver with each other. And, you know, we did a podcast recently on one of our other podcasts where this massive product leader said one of the most important things he looks for are someone's soft skills, because you need to be able to get your point across, but negotiate, you know, and not, you don't need to look at soft skills for just a leadership position, but for everything in your daily life. And I thought that was really important. And I love that y'all are teaching that.
Certainly. We see it as a balance of making sure that folks have both the technical skills to be able to be the best in their role, and also the ability to lead and influence, persuade, bring people together. It's a combination of the two that creates the best leaders.
Yeah, I love that. So where do you see the greatest need to help facilitate more women getting into technology?
Whew, there are so many different areas of need. If
Mhm,
I see in our role as where we work as an organization, it is on supporting those who are in the mid-career sort of
mhm,
phases, who are in a tech role at this
mhm,
point, but are looking to grow, expand, find ways to make their current positions and their future positions the best fits for them. So
mhm,
we are really looking at how do you retain and elevate women leaders so that
mhm,
they get to that leadership piece, or to the leadership role down the line.
mhm,
I also see, if you're thinking about bringing in like entry into the field, it's so important that folks see those that they identify
mhm,
with, as potential teachers, as mentors,
mhm,
as places, as people, as resources for learning. And I also believe, if you're thinking about this as an industry wide
mhm,
space, having the tech industry or any sort of company be seen as a inclusive space that is looking for belonging, for contributions from all sorts of different mindsets, roles, that values various identities, that's
mhm,
also critical. It
mhm.
needs to be a welcoming space where people see themselves being and thriving.
Very true. So where do you, or not where do you, but how do you think we get more women involved in technology?
Part of it is if is really elevating those who are already in it and
Mhm,
sharing their stories and voices and the contributions that they're making. Being able to provide a platform that shows there are many voices, many ways that you can be involved in a technical role or
mhm,
at a tech company. You don't need to say fit X stereotype to be a tech person,
right,
is critical on the first bit. There's also the way that we work at Advancing Women in Tech. We really focus on the one part of the population that I mentioned, but we also use our resources in partnership with others who are fitting at different points on the pipeline
mhm,
to be able to best support like their growth. So whether that be organizations who are focused on K-12, like exposure to STEM and having like content and representation there.
mhm,
It's critical that you're increasing the pipeline at the front end,
mhm,
and then how do you bring people into roles? That's incredibly important.
mhm,
And what we would say too is we need to really focus on how do you make sure that you're retaining the talent that you have and working to support policies and spaces so that workplaces are supportive and are acknowledging the various talents that everybody brings to the table so that like women and other underrepresented individuals have the ability to be able to be at that leadership role.
mhm. Yeah, I love that. So what inspires you? And it can be anything.
Mhm. Gosh, there are so many things that inspire me. I am inspired by the individuals that I work with. I
Mhm,
am inspired to be able to learn new things and new approaches on a regular basis. It has been so fun for me. I am a learner by nature. That probably came across when I answered the what were my ideal my ideal job. But to be able to go, oh, this is how those people in this industry think about this. Here are the connection points. Here
mhm,
are the opportunities. And to be able to be in a position where I can learn new approaches or new ways of doing things on a daily basis keeps me very engaged.
mhm,
While also being able to be focused on our mission of how do you best expand opportunities, and areas of growth and the abilities for everyone to hit their own career path. Um, it's a really cool space to be able to be in.
It is. It very much is. I didn't think I'd want anything to do with the technology world, and here I am and loving it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it touches everything. If you think
Mhm.
of anything that we do these days, there is a tech piece to it. And so I'd be curious what you think and like how your organization thinks about this. But I'll sometimes talk to younger folks who will say, "Oh, I don't want to be in tech." I'm going,
Mhm.
well, tech is everywhere. Like
Mhm.
if you want to be in, oh, you have an interest in X, so you have an interest in, say, gaming, or you have an interest in crafting, or you have an interest in music, there is going to be a technology intersection in that space. And
Mhm.
figuring out how to equip and navigate and use those skills to be able to work in an area that is of interest to you
Mhm.
will allow you to have fun in your career and continue to learn and grow.
Yeah. For us, when I was recruited for this role, I've been in Nashville almost 16, well, a little over 16 years, and mainly working in the Christian music and film world.
Mhm.
And I get contacted by our CEO and of Nxt Level, and he was like, "Hey, we're not friends. We don't know each other." And I will tell you, I've never answered a recruiter ever before, ever. And the way he did it was so different. And it was like, even if you don't want to come work for me, I still want to be your friend because you've done some really cool stuff. So he goes, "I want you to take what you know in that world and move it here." And I'm like, "I don't know anything about technology." He's, "You know more than you think, because every single company is a tech company, whether they realize it or not." So it's now seeing for me how accessible it is for everyone, because it put into your site daily that it really is, the world is a tech world, and whether you like it or not, and I would think that I wasn't very tech savvy, but now I'm realizing I probably am a lot more than a lot of people. So for us, it's just making everyone realize that, yeah, you do work in a tech world, and technology, working in technology is not somebody sitting in a dark room, trying to hack into someone else's computer mainframe. It's literally doing things that change the world on a daily basis. And what we feel like we're doing all the time is bringing people dream jobs. So I love watching that. I love when we're able to go out of our way to get the candidate that we're presenting to a client more than what they asked for in this new job. And then that client going, "I never would have thought about this kind of person for this job, but you just hit it out of the box." That inspires me on a daily basis working here at Nxt Level. And so I love to see those types of things. And I love that there's organizations out there that are trying to support people all around the world to give them that better upper hand.
I love that. And what you were saying was making me think about advancing women in tech and our own mission to really make sure that the leadership in tech is diverse and representative of the world that it builds for. And if
Mhm.
you think about how technology is so intersected in every aspect of our life and how we are all engaging it,
Mhm.
those who, the people who have the stake and leadership in who makes decisions on how things are built, on what gets prioritized, on what various decisions are prioritized, how various things are handled, that really matters because it shapes how we experience the world that we're in
Mhm.
and like what we're building towards. And
Mhm.
so it's so important that it's inclusive and representative of all of us. And so,
Yes.
yeah, I see alignment in us all working to get that together.
Mhm. So if someone wants to get in touch with you or learn more about advancing women in tech, how do they do that?
There are a few ways that they can do that. So, first, I'd say look me up or look Advancing Women in Tech up on LinkedIn. We also have a website, advancingwomenintech.org. If you're interested in taking any of our courses on product management, engineering leadership, or cloud computing, we can be found on Coursera under Advancing Women in Tech or on our website. But would love to hear from folks and keep in touch. We're always looking to bring more along who are engaged in our mission.
I love that. All right. So everyone, make sure to look up Advancing Women in Tech and get in touch with Kate if you need more information, and make sure to subscribe to our channel. Y'all have a great day.